The need for safe and legal routes. Recent polling by Vocal Data for the British Future think tank reveals significant public support for creating visas that allow asylum seekers to travel safely to the UK. Key findings from the survey suggest that there is support for humanitarian visas. 50% of the British public, that's almost two-thirds of Labour voters, support the issuance of humanitarian visas for up to 40,000 people annually with strong asylum claims or connections to the UK. That means setting up consulates outside the UK that are focused on providing these visas for people who are in need. There's only about 16% of respondents disapproved of the proposed humanitarian visa scheme, and there is strong support. Half of those surveyed approved of the Labour government's decision to abandon the Rwanda policy and instead invest in new border security command. I've been suggesting that Rwanda could perhaps even be a place for those people to be sent who can't be sent back to their home country, like people from Afghanistan or Iran. But we have to consider that the Supreme Court made it clear that Rwanda is not a safe country. And while Rwanda has still failed to produce a proper report, a transparent report about the 13, not just 12, 13 deaths of refugees that took place recently, back in 2018, 2019. While that absence continues, Rwanda cannot be considered a place that we can send people, even those people who fail to meet the criterion for asylum. I think Rwanda is a clear, because we have invested so much, it's a clear option for us to send people who don't meet those criterion. But until Rwanda starts to pull its finger out and start to do what is expected of a civilized country, it's not possible to go down that route. Two-thirds of respondents to this Focal Data report back Labour's plan to process all asylum applications lodged by individuals who have reached the UK. Of course they do. We need to clear those hotels. We need to get people who are meeting the criteria into our system so they're paying tax, so they're working, so they're feeling valued, and so they can contribute to our society. And more than half of the respondents support Labour's plans to end the use of hotels for asylum accommodation. Those hotels should never be used. All that is doing is putting cash in the pockets of some very dodgy hotel organisations. Very dodgy hotels. And I'm afraid I've stayed in a few of them, and they even the bits of the hotels which are still being used by conventional guests is a bit shabby. So what the other bits are like, I have no idea. The polling highlighted a trust disparity in migration issues, with the new Prime Minister receiving a 35% trust rating, higher than other political leaders such as Nigel Farage on 30, Rishi Sunak on 25, and Ed Davey on 23. But nevertheless, at the beginning of his premiership, Sir Keir Starmer should be polling higher than that. Sundar Kotwala, the director of British Future, and Enver Solomon, the chief executive of the Refugee Council, emphasised the necessity of safe routes to undermine people smugglers' business models and to prevent tragedies like the recent dinghy sinking in the English Channel. But overall, the data indicates broad public support for safer legal pathways for asylum seekers and for a fairer and more effective migration policy in general.